stay right there for a moment. What if you can remember, like what? How was your whole feeling the first time you went up north and saw your family up north living like how they was living? They wasn't living in public housing. Like, do you remember how you felt and when you came home? Like, did you have a different conversation? Like,
I could tell you exactly how I felt. And this wasn't out at the time, but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
Will Smith, when he went from Philly to Uncle Phil's house.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. When they picked me up from the airport, I always remember this. Because when he picked me up from the airport, the car that he picked me up in, I had never seen it before. It was called a Peugeot.
Wow.
I had never heard of it. I didn't know they had, I think it had like a lion on the front or something. And I remember seeing the emblem going, damn. And it kind of looked like a Benz or like a BMW to me. I knew it was some type of foreign car.
Yeah.
So when he pulled up in that, I knew something was different right away. So when I got in the car, I've always known my uncle, met my uncle before, seen him before on trips, but I didn't know. So we're driving, we leave the airport, we're driving, and you actually drive through some of these hoods to get to where he's going. So you drive through the downtown areas and you can see some of the public housing, they all look very similar. But we kept going. And I saw hills. I don't know if I had ever seen hills before. I saw hills, a lot of trees, kind of like mountain type areas. And you could just tell the difference in the neighborhoods, the people walking around, everybody look all friendly. There wasn't a whole bunch of trash everywhere. It was just different. So when we pulled up to his house, I remember looking at.
Okay, we back at it. We had a slight technical difficulty, and what we were talking about, like I said before, we had that technical mishap was the feeling that you had. And I know you were saying, you guys passed through the hood, you seen some hills, you had never seen no hills before. So continue to take us through that story and that feeling.
Yeah, where I left off was, it was the curb up here. I remember seeing beautiful flowers, roses, and my uncle had a, what's those Asian fish? I think it was a koi pond. So I'm walking through, he got all the landscaping, and I see all these pretty fish, orange, red, white, and I'm like, I had never seen nothing like this before, especially with no black people.
Yeah.
So to me, my uncle was living like, maybe the Jeffersons is a bad analogy, but he had done moved on up. I just knew things were different, right? Just walking through the house, just everything about the whole situation was different for me. Public housing, all the units looked the same. You smell pee everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Everything, it was none of that, dude. And right away, I liked the feeling. It was just welcoming. And I remember my uncle asked me what I wanted to eat. And I was like, whatever. He was like, well, I think I'm gonna go buy a couple of lobsters. And I was like, hold on, what? He was like, well, have you ever had lobsters? I was like, nah.
What's that?
Yeah, I've heard of a lobster because, in the hood, we eat some blue crab. Now we run through some blue crab, right? Yeah. But lobster was never on the menu. And I ain't talking about no lobster to me. He went and bought whole lobsters. So, them things were probably, at that time, 67, $80 for one damn lobster. He bought a few on them. So he basically had to teach me how to eat the lobster.
Yeah.
So it was a whole funny thing because everybody looking at me, the cousin from down south who don't know how to eat lobster, they thought that shit was funny. But I ain't care because I was having the time of my life. But I could just tell things were different. His wife was a teacher. He was a professor, and then he did some other things on the side. He had a boat, dude. We went in the Atlantic Ocean and went fishing on his boat. The boat had a bathroom on it, dude. I was just absolutely blown away. And I knew at that time as a youngster that what I had at home, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I wanted what my cousins them had up north. And I actually went to another cousin's house, and his mother worked for the airlines, and I forget what his dad did, but they also had like a 2-3 story house, Benz and all that. So they were very successful. And before we jump to it, one thing I'll never forget was at that particular cousin's house, His father made my two little cousins, Corey and his sister. They had to pick a word out of the dictionary every day and learn a new word. I never forget that. I was like, why are they doing this? Every day they had to learn a new word and the definition of the word. Well, long story short, my cousin is the head physician for the emergency department at New Jersey Mount Sinai Hospital. So he run that whole
Nice.
unit.
Yeah.
And his sister is an anesthesiologist. So that learning a word every day, it absolutely paid off. But you know, again, seeing the other side is really what really drove me.
I be working, I be getting that pay. I be working, son, up to the